Hey, do y'all remember Zaboomafoo? Hello everyone, welcome back. If you saw my last video, if you didn't, you should. Or welcome if this is your first time seeing me. I'm Jada. I like to share my thoughts on various topics, things that matter, things that don't. As for today, I'm sure you can tell Zaboomafoo is not a very serious topic. I did want to say that today I'm wearing headphones. Last time I had my lav mic like clipped just a little bit underneath me, and it didn't sound that great. And like just with exporting sound quality, it sounded even worse. I did put it on, like I have this, it's like a joint holder at the end, like with a little alligator clip. And so I put it on there, but it's still making like a shaking sound, and so I just put headphones in. So I hope that the audio is better than the last video. Let me know. Truth is, I was a true-blooded PBS Kids watcher, and I loved the Kratt brothers when I was little. I will be a PBS defender until the day I die, especially with cutting funding to their campaigns recently. There needs to be more of us out there. Anyway, back to the point. Today, I wanted to talk about the legacy of the Kratt brothers and how they're kind of like super animal conservationist brothers dedicating their lives to doing what they love and making the world a better place. I wanted to write about something that I felt like still mattered while also trying to still keep it light. These guys continue to shine a light on situations and animals and habitats and ecosystems that would rather remain unlit. This is a chunk of goodness in the world that I felt comfortable spending my time researching and writing about. Okay, enough of the emotional stuff. Let's get into it. Zaboomafoo was the Kratt's breakout television series. While not their first program, this put Chris and Martin on the map and made them who they are today. The show aired on Sprout, which was a preschool subsection of PBS Kids, and ran from 1999 to 2001, and reruns ran until 2009, and that's like where that sweet spot was for me. I was 6 in 2009, and so that running time really was like where I was watching the preschool stuff on PBS, and I loved the Kratt brothers. The show was similar in premise to other shows that were popular around the time, like Fetch with Ruff Ruffman, Barney, Reading Rainbow. These all had some kind of like real life or like improvised sections in their shows. And I mean, that's really all you're able to structure around when you have a real life lemur starring in your show. This was Zaboomafoo himself. His name was actually Jovian, and he was a Kokoro Sofaka, born and raised in the Duke Lemur Center in North Carolina. He appeared in almost all 65 episodes of the show, with his parents sometimes subbing in. They lived like in the same enclosure with him. The show consisted of studio time with our live buddy, as well as the Kratt brothers, also claymation segments, and also puppeteering with a kind of terrifying taxidermy looking lemur puppet. And I mean, it was a puppet, and so it was being voice acted in other live action segments with Chris and Martin. The show often featured live animals from around the globe, with the Kratt brothers and the puppet version of Zabu interacting with them, finding ways to teach children new things about new animals. The Kratt brothers have always had a unique sense for entertaining children. Over the decades, they've continued to provide educational information to children about international animals while also giving them fun ways to retain the information. Somehow, they also still maintain an engaging presence on the screen. I mean, Wild Kratts has been running for like 13 years. But Zaboomafoo was not the Kratt brothers' first go at nature television, with Chris and Martin having a 1996 show on PBS called Kratt's Creatures. It was kind of like a limited series of the time, where they recorded 50 episodes and then put them all on VHS, as well as released them over the course of 2 months onto PBS. The footage included the brothers and their crew getting up close and personal with animals that many of these children had never even heard of. Even more so than Zaboomafoo, this was like popular shows at the time, because they had students/children kind of like segments in every episode. This show had unprecedented popularity with audiences, and so PBS wanted to see what else they could do with them, naturally. Okay, now let's get into some Kratt brothers lore. Martin is the older of the two brothers that were born and raised in Warren Township, New Jersey, which is also where they're from in Mr. Robot, which I think is so fucking funny for some reason. I don't know. But I like to think is Chris and Martin like alternate universe, like Elliot and Darlene. He majored in zoology at Duke University, which is where Zabu is from. After graduating, he went on to participate in a howler monkey internship. I guess, what would the word be, internship or like residency? I'm not sure. He did go like under a professor to Madagascar to like research howler monkeys as like his like apprentice kind of thing. He says that he originally came to Duke going pre-med looking to be a conservation veterinarian. However, his time in college and in Madagascar really ignited his love for primates, with him even being there for the first ii ever born in captivity, and that's a big deal. In his last year of college, Martin was tasked with making a short film about salamanders on the North Carolina and Virginia coast. He actually ended up winning the Hal Kammerer Film Award at Duke University, which just motivated his passion for animal filmmaking. Chris, who is the younger of the two siblings, earned his degree in biology at Carleton College. Martin recounts that after Chris finished up his semester, he joined him in Madagascar. After this, they backpacked around Costa Rica taking videos of every animal that they encountered. It took about 3 or so more trips before they struck gold and were able to compile Kratt's creatures. During their time in Madagascar together, the brothers were actually introduced to the cockerel sifaka. So when they had an idea for an animal-based show, Martin says that the decision was kind of obvious. Martin recalls that the way the lemur sat is just perfectly suited for a puppet. He sits with his butt on the ground and sits up, making it easier for the puppeteer to kind of blend into the set. This natural posture, it would make it easier for their audience of, like 4-year-olds to be able to distinguish a little bit less between the puppet and the real Zabu. So their show took place in Animal Junction, which was in Toronto, Canada. However, the brothers were very adamant that Jovian and his family be disturbed the least amount possible during filmmaking, so they made an identical set in the Duke Lemur Center in Durham, North Carolina. With the two sets, this broadened the ability of the show because they would be able to bring in animals that the Lemur Center just wasn't able to accommodate for the show. And it was just safer because there were not as many animals interacting with each other at one time. The introduction of the puppet was so that Zabu would be able to interact with animals that he wouldn't normally be able to interact with in the wild. And I like that they do make it clear, actually, in the show, like they say that these interactions only happen in Animal Junction. Like if Zabu is like with an otter or something like that, they're like, this doesn't happen in the real world. It only happens here. Giving that dose of reality to the children as well so that it's still very, educational.
River otters are one of the most water-loving of all the weasels, but when they're looking for a new home, they can travel up to 100 miles on land.
I do think it's hilarious, though, that the brothers, they said they made the set purposefully bright and disorienting so that when they were switching between sets, it would be less jarring to kids because they were already jarred, I guess. But it wasn't random. Zabu would eat a snack and he would then be able to talk. That was kind of the method there. Martin himself says that Zabu was always a great guide because he saw everything from the animal's perspective. Once the show became so popular, the brothers started making appearances. First, they started small, at like zoos and schools, but they eventually hosted live shows that housed thousands of children and parents. And they're still doing live shows. They're still doing live shows! The draw was not just the extensive knowledge they had about animals, but the fact that they really seemed to care about the kids that cared about them. I actually found a post on Reddit that recounts a meeting with a dad and his son just 5 months ago with the Kratt brothers. He says, "My son is autistic, highly intelligent, but painfully socially inept. He, much like me at his age, has become obsessed with animals and all things wildlife. Wildcrats has been his obsession since he was a toddler. He lives and breeds wildcrats, has seen every episode many times, and 95% of what comes out of his mouth daily is reciting wildcrats verbatim. Anyone willing to listen will hear every detail of every animal you can imagine. The night of the live show, we had just finished swimming at the hotel, and as we were walking back to the room, we ran into them in the lobby. They were extremely nice, popped up and talked to him, and listened to everything he wanted to say. He met his literal heroes, and they insisted on pictures and giving him signed merchandise. As a zoologist myself, I cannot say enough about these amazing men and what they do for our community. The way they spoke to him and listened to him patiently filled my heart beyond belief. God bless the Kratt Bros." After years of entertaining, they remained successful because they remained passionate. This was and is the magic of the Kratt brothers. Martin and Chris captured young and old audiences with their knowledge and attention to detail. In a Variety interview with the two in 2021, Chris actually mentions this fact. He says that something he's really proud of is the fact that their co-viewing rate was always high, which is when the parents are actually sitting down and watching the show with their children. My question when researching this script was, if this was so successful, why did they stop after like a year and a half or 2 years? And I mean, It really was just the premise. 2 different identical sets, a constant flow of wild animals, and they're consistently filming the same family of lemurs. The setup, it wasn't built for longevity. And not just that, the guys were kind of getting cabin fever. They say that they were itching to get back out and explore. I mean, that was their whole lives before Zoboomafoo. And they had the opportunity to do just that with National Geographic. They picked up a series called Be the Creature. This was 2 seasons of them just out in the wilderness with their crew for weeks at a time. And there's 2 seasons of it, but it's kind of lost media. I had trouble finding watchable versions of it, but people that have seen it do regard it as some of their best work. Chris recalls a time when they were out chasing a pack of wild dogs in Africa during filming, and they just weren't able to get the shot that they wanted. They said the dogs were just too fast and that they weren't able to catch up, and they got multiple flat tires. It was just becoming extremely dangerous for everyone. This encounter ended up sparking an idea in their head. What about animation? Martin frames it as, we knew there were facts about them that we just couldn't show. So we started thinking, with animation, we can show anything we want to show. And that's what they've done. Okay guys, it's Wild Kratts time. Wild Kratts is a kids TV show on PBS that the Kratt brothers created and started airing in 2011. Can you believe? 2011, that's when my brother was born. He's 14, that's just so crazy. The format is mostly animation, but they do have live segments at the beginning and end, sort of introing and outroing with the special focus animal for the episode. The plot of the episodes can vary, with the conflicts ranging from human influence, helping baby animals find their moms or their tribes, as well as besting many of their series villains, which are typically like deforestation villains or like chemical villains or something like that. However, for all of the episodes, the formatting of the show is to showcase the main creature's power, whatever interesting thing that may be for the current episode. The animated versions of the brothers are best friends with a woman in STEM. Her name is Aviva, and she made creature suits where they are able to assume the powers of whatever creature is the main focus for the episode. And Chris and Martin have always made a big deal about changing the connotation of animals that are being seen in a negative light. And so when they assume powers of an animal that's typically regarded as like scary or dangerous or something like that, they always find a way to prove how they are vital to their ecosystem or their habitat, or why they do these things and why they matter. The purpose of the show is really just to help children question their biases when it comes to animals that they know. And Chris and Martin, they are so hands-on. They still trade off writing episodes every week and then get storyboarding with their team afterward. They just have so much dedication, and they have been so true to themselves and to their craft their entire career, and it really shows through their success. They've just remained really like knee deep in all of their endeavors and the creation of everything that they've put their name behind. Whether that be television programs, live tours, or they even have a freaking exhibit at the National Children's Museum, introducing children to all sorts of creature adventures and indulging in children who have passions for animals and for nature. Like that zoologist said, God bless the Kratt Bros. The Kratt brothers are low-key geniuses, y'all. Their passion for animals combined with their passion for education and entertainment was a surefire recipe for success. To this day, Chris and Martin continue to explore the world, meeting new animals and coming up with new episodes for Wild Kratts and expanding their knowledge. They say that there are many animals that they have yet to cover that they would love to, so I don't see Wild Kratts ending anytime soon. They have over 150 episodes with no signs of stopping. From Kratt's Creatures to Zoboomafoo to now, audiences have always loved whatever the Kratt brothers do. I mean, Zoboomafoo was nominated for multiple Emmys. Shout out to Chris and Martin Kratt. They both have their own families and their own children now, and yet they continue to educate and encourage children to go have their own creature adventures. I hope they keep educating and creating, and I can't wait to make my future kids watch all their stuff. Thank you so much for sticking around if you are still here. I know this is very different than my last one. I'm still finding my flow and just kind of writing about what I want. I hope you liked what I had to say today, and if you did, I would love for you to subscribe. That would be very nice. I'm going to continue writing and posting, and I hope you stick around for the ride. Okay, bye! Guy, this is Binks. This is Binks. She's a very sweet girl. She looks annoyed right now.